Rely on the team spirit of Channel 2 News at 6:30.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the campaign to overthrow Saddam Hussein and whether the Bush administration will get more deeply involved. Iraqi opposition leaders admit today that the pro-Hussein elements in the Iraqi army have gained the upper hand in the south, down near Kuwait. And these pictures from the southern city of Al-Amara show burned-out buildings and government troops patrolling the streets, showing off, among other things, recaptured anti-aircraft guns. In the north, on the other hand, where Iraqi Kurds traditionally live, Kurdish leaders claim to control more than 90% of the region. ABC's Charles Glass is inside Iraq tonight with the rebel Kurds.
An Iraqi helicopter over the Kurdish town of Duhok, firing on Kurdish guerrilla positions in the hills. The United States may have issued warnings to Iraq about using air power, but a Kurdish commander announced his forces shot this helicopter out of the sky with a captured SAM-7 surface-to-air missile. The Kurdish forces in northern Iraq are relying increasingly on weapons captured from the Iraqi army.
But more important than the tanks and the armored personnel carriers they've left, there are men, Iraqi soldiers, who have now joined the rebellion against Saddam Hussein.
Kurdish commanders claim to have captured more than 60,000 Iraqi army prisoners, but these prisoners do not languish in camps. The Kurds simply let them go to their homes or join in the struggle to topple Saddam Hussein. This soldier in Duhok said the reason he was crying was that he feared the Iraqi army, his army, had used chemical weapons on Shiite Muslim villages in southern Iraq where his family lives. Throughout the countryside, the sight of Iraqi soldiers walking home is common. Kurdish commanders, whose forces now control most of northern Iraq, where life seems free and easy and there are few, if any, checkpoints, say they are concentrating their attacks on two fronts moving towards Baghdad.
How are you? Good to see you. How are you?
But Kurdish leader Masoud Barzani says the Kurds alone cannot attack Baghdad for fear of turning the war against Saddam Hussein into a battle between ethnic Kurds and the Arab majority. Charles Glass, ABC News in Erbil, Iraq.
After he filed that report by shipping the videotape out through Iran, Charlie moved to another location in northern Iraq, and today on a shortwave radio hookup, we were able to talk to him. We asked him for a sense of what life is like generally for Iraqi Kurds now.
Well, you see two sides of life. There is food on sale in the markets that has mainly been smuggled over from Iran. For example, fruit and vegetables, cookies and things like that. Doctors report that in the cities they probably have a few weeks' supply of medicine left. But on the other side, I have to say that Kurdish morale is surprisingly high. In nearly every city we've gone to, we've seen people cheering, applauding whenever they've heard that another town has been liberated by the Kurdish forces in northern Iraq. Applaud me as though I, as an American, were somehow responsible for the liberation of northern Iraq. And they pat me on the back and say, send our best wishes to President Bush. Over.
Charlie, what do Kurdish leaders realistically expect the United States to do, if anything?
The Kurdish leaders say openly that the one thing they would like is for the Americans to reassert control of the skies over Iraq, to keep the Iraqi planes and helicopter gunships grounded. They believe that on the ground they have no problem winning, and there's every bit of evidence on the ground to support that view. Over.
Well, there is no question that the U.S. controls the skies over Iraq if it wishes. The question is whether the Bush administration will exercise that control to assist the rebels. At the White House, ABC's Britt Hume.
Why? All over town today, questions about Iraq's use of attack helicopters against rebel forces and about why the U.S. isn't trying to stop it.
Our policy concerning helicopters has not changed over the last 24 hours, and I would refer you to the transcript from the Pentagon where that is articulated almost every day.
At the Pentagon today, though, the effort seemed not so much to articulate the policy, but to blur it.
We have not said what we're going to do about that, and I can't say today either.
The problem for the administration is that the president himself has suggested the U.S. will insist Iraq ground its helicopters.
I must confess to some concern about the use of Iraqi helicopters in violation of what our understanding was. And that's one that has got to be resolved before we're going to have any permanence to any ceasefire.
Officials say that in his first meeting with Iraqi generals, U.S. General Schwarzkopf reached an informal understanding that Iraq would not use its helicopters. Schwarzkopf's purpose was to safeguard coalition forces. Now, though, the helicopters are very much in use, but against groups like the Kurds trying to topple Saddam. They pose no apparent threat to Allied troops. So, at the White House today, spokesman Fitzwater said, yes, using the helicopters does violate the understanding with Iraq, but that they would only be attacked if they appeared to endanger coalition forces.
If that seems to contradict the president's own words, it does. The policy has changed. The administration doesn't want to go after the helicopters that are fighting the rebels because it doesn't want to get involved in Iraq's internal power struggle. What it wants instead is to sign a permanent ceasefire and bring U.S. forces home. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
A little later in the broadcast, we'll have our second special report on the lessons of the Gulf War. Tonight, the ground campaign. What can be done about the more than 5 million American children suffering from hunger? And an angry army in the Soviet Union. Does it contribute to stability, or does it threaten it?
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Merrill Lynch.
In the midst of the storm, it's only natural to wonder where the future will lead. To people who worry about the winds of change today, we'd like to remind you that no adversity lasts forever. And we'll be there with the strength and resources you can count on. Because at Merrill Lynch, we're bullish on the future.
Excuse me, do you know anything about this camera? I'm thinking of giving it as a gift.
Yeah, the Polaroid One Step. It's a lot of fun, really easy to use.
Okay.
Is it for your girlfriend?
Oh, no, I don't have a girlfriend.
Oh, that's nice.
I love Jacqueline Smith clothes. I could have spent another hour there.
What a great price for GE soft white bulbs. They're the only ones I use.
Really?
They make everything in the house look so much better, including me.
It has always puzzled people who live in less well-off parts of the world, but it is all too true that some American children still go to bed hungry every night. 7 years ago, when President Reagan was in office, a presidential commission said it could not come up with reliable numbers to say just how many children were hungry. Today, a private organization called the Food Research and Action Center, after a 2-year study, concludes that millions of kids are still hungry. Here's ABC's Rebecca Chase.
The government spends $28 billion a year to make sure people have enough to eat. 1 in 6 Americans receives food stamps. 1 in 3 babies benefits from the infant feeding program. 95% of all children participate in school lunch programs. And still,
based upon our findings from across the country, we estimate that 5.5 million children under the age of 12 are hungry in this country.
the findings result from interviews with 2,300 low-income families in 7 states. Children were considered hungry if their parents answered yes to questions such as, does your household ever run out of money to buy food? Do you ever skip meals because there is not enough money for food? Do any of your children ever go to bed hungry?
The questions were designed by people who are experts in the field of research. They were pre-tested, and we believe get at the critical ingredients to determine whether a household is hungry.
This is a report about hunger, not about malnutrition. The Centers for Disease Control, in fact, has found a steady decline in childhood anemia, a leading indicator of nutritional deficiencies. But for those who run the nation's food programs, the distinction between malnutrition and hunger is important.
I think we've pretty much eliminated clinical malnutrition in the United States. And now the issue is hunger, which is subjective.
Everyone agrees that hunger must be eliminated. Hungry children are sick more often. They have trouble concentrating. They miss school. Today's study concludes that childhood hunger can be eliminated. It would require expanding existing food programs at a cost of up to $15 billion. The debate in Congress will, as always, come down to money. Rebecca Chase, ABC News, Washington.
A new AIDS drug has been tested, and it seems to do some good. The drug is called ditiocarb sodium. It is not a cure, but according to a new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, it does appear to reduce the number of serious infections which AIDS patients get. The case against some of the Los Angeles police officers accused of beating an unarmed motorist began its way through the California court system today. 3 officers and their sergeant, all charged in the beating, entered not guilty pleas to a variety of criminal charges. Here's ABC's Gary Shepard.
After several delays, the officers arrived for arraignment on charges of assault and using excessive force when they arrested Rodney King 3 weeks ago. The charges carry a maximum penalty of 7 years in prison.
This is an atmosphere in which it's very difficult for anyone to get a fair trial.
The problem is the videotape seen repeatedly on television, but the prosecutor says he is not worried.
You can get jurors who can put any preconceived notions they have behind them and fairly evaluate the evidence, impartially evaluate the evidence, and come to a decision.
Meanwhile, 100 FBI agents investigating possible patterns of police brutality have begun questioning Los Angeles police officers in the district where the beating occurred. But they are having trouble getting officers to cooperate. Most are refusing to give voluntary statements on the advice of their attorney.
I'm not telling them what they should do. I'm telling them if they give a voluntary statement, it can be used against you.
A grand jury is already hearing evidence against all other officers who were present during the Rodney King beating and did nothing to stop it. Gary Shepard, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The seemingly random murder of an American soldier on the streets of Detroit last week now appears to have been anything but random. Anthony Riggs was shot and killed just after returning safely from the war in the Gulf. Today, police charged Riggs' wife and her brother with the murder. Riggs and his wife reportedly had been having both marital and money problems. An important decision from the Supreme Court today. The court has ruled that a confession obtained by coercion does not automatically mean a case must be thrown out of court. If there is enough other evidence to convict, the conviction may stand. On Wall Street today, the stocks rallied. The Dow Jones Industrials gained 49 points to close at 29.14, and the trading was heavy. Another airline is in trouble. Midway Airlines, which is based in Chicago, has filed for bankruptcy. Like Pan Am and Continental, which have also filed under Chapter 11, Midway says it will keep flying while it tries to reorganize itself. When we come back, the dangerous anger of the Soviet Army.
Rough, tight, dry skin? That stops with Curel. When you apply Curel regularly, you'll feel its fast-absorbing rehydration formula take over. First, it seals in the healing moisturizers. Then the soothing Curel therapy rehydrates your dry skin. First it seals, then it heals. There's a clear line between other moisturizing formulas and Curel's rehydration formula. Curel for dry skin. First it seals, then it heals.
How'd you get those flowers in there? Glade potpourri, it's fresh and sincere. Where'd you get them herbs and spice? Glade potpourri, it smells so nice. No one potpourris like Glade.
And now there's new Glade Potpourri Pump. The freshness of potpourri now in a pump. Spray it, shake it, or pump it.
No one potpourris like Glade.
Ziploc presents Fingerman.
Hi, I'm here to demonstrate an amazing achievement. Introducing the new Gripper Zipper from Ziploc. Now the easiest closing bag there is. In fact, I can even close it with my hands tied behind my back. Yes, the zipper is grabbing hold. It's locking. Feel it close the first time, every time. Ziploc bags with the new Gripper Zipper. The easiest closing bag there is.
Very good, Fingerman.
You gonna tie me now? Hey, where are you going?
In the Soviet Union today, another move by Mikhail Gorbachev to keep the lid on his opponents. He has put the government's Interior Ministry in charge of enforcing law and order in Moscow, a job normally reserved for the Moscow city government, which has become increasingly anti-Gorbachev. It's always been a rule of thumb that no leader of the Soviet Union could survive without the support of the Soviet Army. And this Soviet Army is growing increasingly restless. Here's ABC's Jim Laurie.
Behind the disciplined drills of these Soviet Red Lancers, it is an angry army. Generals are angry still about the loss of Eastern Europe, where thousands of Soviet troops are being sent packing. And younger officers are angry about conditions at home. Nearly 200,000 officers and their families are without adequate housing.
Look at our living conditions. My 17-year-old son has to live in the closet. 8 families in one apartment.
And all are angry about the way they are treated in the outlying republics where they face civilian resentment. angry enough that they are striking back, staging their own demonstrations, which are given extensive coverage on state-controlled television. With nearly 4 million men, the Soviet army can be a powerful force in Soviet society, one that President Gorbachev more than ever seems anxious to please and to use in the name of law and order, as he did when he ordered army recruits to join the police in patrolling the streets of Soviet cities. They don't look threatening, but the brutality of army actions against unarmed civilians in the Baltics has raised fears that a force, frustrated and fractured, might spin out of control. Concerns about a vast army arsenal falling into the wrong hands have prompted new assurances. Chief of Staff Mosaev saying nuclear weapons have been moved to the Russian heartland and are under careful control. But the Soviet media recently reported that soldiers at a missile base threatened to desert their posts if food shortages were not corrected.
Many of them are angry, but the question is, what will be the direction of their anger?
Whatever direction, it's clear the military is exerting greater influence in Soviet life. Young colonels like Viktor Alksnis have formed new power centers in parliament. Some Russians express concern about the possibility of military coups. Despite denials, fears persist that an angry army can be a dangerous one. Jim Laurie, ABC News, Moscow.
Another story today about how tough things can be in the Soviet Union. An old woman in a small town near Moscow was apparently waiting in line to buy sausages. She reportedly asked to go to the front of the line because her paralyzed husband was home alone. The other shoppers refused. She had a heart attack and died. According to the Soviet news agency, the others online continued shopping while she lay on the floor. We'll be back in a moment.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? But of course. Pull forward, please. Reverse. Go forward. No. Reverse. What is he doing? Come back.
A lot of you insist on eating wheat thins and oat thins because they taste good. But the whole idea behind these crackers is that you can eat them without feeling guilty. That's why they're baked, not fried. I mean, eat them because they're delicious, and you miss the whole point.
Reverse. Go forward again. Oh, dear. Grey Poupon, one of life's finer pleasures.
Roger just can't stop talking about the terrific taste of new Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel. Right, Roger? Mm-hmm. It has the cool taste of freshly picked mint, doesn't it, Roger? Mm-hmm. And it has the baking soda our dentist recommended. We'll never go back to our old gel, will we, Roger? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. New Arm & Hammer Dental Care Gel or paste from the baking soda experts. Anything else you'd like to add, Roger? Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Did you know the cost of 2 12-page fax transmissions from these Minneapolis newspapers to Chicago may surprise you?
I got an exclusive interview.
With AT&T Pro Watts, your business can't get a more accurate way to send a fax.
She talks a lot.
And our prices are extremely competitive. Even though the other company would like you to believe, they always save you lots of money.
Wait a minute. That's news to me. Can I quote you on that?
AT&T Pro Watts, another AT&T advantage.
Our second report now on the military lessons, or at least some of them, learned in the Persian Gulf. Long before the ground war began, there was widespread anticipation in the Allied military coalition that the Iraqi army might prove to be a very formidable enemy, and that Iraqi defenses on the ground, from flaming trenches to minefields, might well be the death of many American soldiers. It was not to be so. For one thing, there was the air campaign, and then on the ground, the technology gap. ABC's military analyst Tony Cordesman has been on a post-war tour of the battlefield, and ABC's Bill Rediker put this report together.
The first lesson field commanders learned was that realistic training was every bit as important as high-technology weaponry. The speed of the coalition's success made the victory appear easy. But for 6 months, Marine and Army units trained for the worst, learning how to cut through or breach Iraqi defensive barriers and minefields.
It looked easy because we had had that time, because we had practiced those things over and over and over again.
The Allies won quickly for another reason. As Tony Cordesman discovered during a tour of the battlefield, initially everyone overestimated the difficulty of Iraqi defenses. Many of the oil trenches designed to create a wall of fire were never lit. And these rows of barbed wire were easily breached.
We're standing in the Iraqi forward positions, the ones we thought would be so formidable. There's something oddly pathetic about this area. This is supposed to be a tank trench, a tank trap. It is not deep enough, and the only thing it ever caught was an Iraqi vehicle pointed south, caught in its own trench.
Before the war, there were widespread, well-documented difficulties with much of the American military equipment in the Gulf. But once such systems as the Apache attack helicopter received 24-hour servicing and attention, much more than in peacetime, it was effective. The M1A1 tank also proved highly lethal, but required constant filter cleaning and track greasing. Its enormous thirst for fuel required long trains of supply trucks, which sometimes had trouble keeping up.
We were reaching the limits of fuel. Fuel was coming behind us. In another 4 hours, we were ready to go again. But fuel was the major thing that we had to watch very closely.
The longer range of American and British tank guns allowed the Allies to attack from as far as 1.5 miles away and stay out of Iraqi range. But it was new thermal sights that read heat sources day and night that gave Allied tank gunners the targeting edge and the critical element of surprise.
We were using passive thermal imaging, using a system we call a thermal observation and gunnery sight, which enabled us really to effectively take on Iraqi tanks at those ranges without him realizing we were there or without him expecting the incoming fire.
Although the Allies' training, equipment, and tactics were impressive, their success on the battlefield was sealed by Iraqi failures in every critical aspect of the war. The Iraqis did have more artillery with longer range than the Allies, but they lost that advantage because the Allies' air campaign disrupted their command, control, and communications.
His artillery turned out not to be effective because we overran him so quickly that he was incapable of repositioning his artillery to make an impact on what we were doing.
There has been an enormous impact on the reputation of Soviet-designed equipment, especially older models used by the Iraqis.
People talk about the rugged nature of Soviet equipment, but the vehicle I'm standing on was a death trap in Afghanistan, and it's been a death trap in Kuwait. One round into this vehicle sets off the fuel and the ammunition. The crew can't get out the narrow doors. It burns inside the vehicle, and that has happened again and again and again.
American military leaders are proud of their troops, their plans, their equipment. But some of them are already worried about success breeding complacency.
What we have to be concerned about is that every enemy isn't going to cave in as this one did. And as long as we keep that in the back of our minds, I think we'll be okay for the future.
That may be the most valuable lesson of the war. Bill Redeker, ABC News.
Tomorrow night with Tony Cordesman, the weak spots in the U.S. military's performance. We'll have our final report this evening in just a moment.
My grandfather loved the unknown. I want a sure thing. I drive a new kind of Oldsmobile, the all-new Bravada, perfect for this jungle because it's got Smart Trap, a new anti-lock braking and all-wheel drive system that automatically sends power to the wheel that needs it. So I'm ready for the unexpected, whether I'm traveling across the river and into the trees,
or just visiting your old man in the sea.
Bravada, engineered for the unexpected.
Everybody needs some money.
money sometimes.
Only Western Union can get money to over 16,000 locations in minutes. Nobody else even comes close. Western Union, the fastest way to send money.
Not long ago, these women would have shied away from these hugs. You would too if you were wearing a diaper. But today, Johnson & Johnson brings you the breakthrough. Serenity Guards. Bladder control protection so advanced you'll never need anything bulky again. Serenity holds as much as something 5 times its size, locking liquid into a gel that won't leak. That's proven protection. So give yourself a hug for discovering Serenity from Johnson & Johnson.
This Easter, put all your love in one basket. The FTD Easter Basket Bouquet. Only your FTD florist can send your love so beautifully. The Easter Basket Bouquet. All your love in one basket.
Tonight on Nightline, new reports of atrocities by Saddam. U.S. troops are on hold, and Washington seems bewildered on what to do next. Tonight.
Finally here this evening, can we sell you something? Can we sell you anything? Some time ago, we came upon a museum in the Midwest, which in the clearest possible way seems to prove the point that when it comes to the subject of a person's health, well, there's one born every minute. Here's ABC's Charlie Murphy.
This is the Colortherm. What a wonderful thing it was.
It would cure eye problems, asthma, nervousness, female troubles, and rheumatism.
But worthless, like all things in the Museum of Questionable Medical Devices at River Place in Minneapolis. Proprietor Bob McCoy. Does he remind you of someone? Nothing beat the Psychograph.
That's centered over your nose. 30 seconds from all about you. Here we go.
By measuring bumps on the head, it analyzed character, caution, amativeness, and sex amity. People were interested in these things, especially sex amity.
You sure have an amorous nature. You sure appreciate the opposite sex a great deal.
Reich's Orgone box cured sex amity problems.
What did you say this was to cure?
McGregor's Rejuvenator reversed aging.
Am I looking younger and thinner?
Well, yes, your hair is getting darker. Turn it on.
Kellogg's vibrating chair induced regularity. The eye massager corrected bad vision. Radio ushered in the golden age of quackery.
In the 20s, it was thought that radio, magnetism, vibration, all of those things were great as a way of healing these people.
All it took, a drop of saliva. The radio tuned to the frequency of the saliva. And
no matter where you are, this could reach you and cure you. Are you feeling any better?
Who were these quacks?
Many of them were simply misguided, but a fair number of them were out-and-out scoundrels.
Know who he looks like? W.C. Fields. In fact, he often impersonates Fields. But mostly he debunks pseudoscience. Good thing, too, because he could sell eye massagers to the blind, breast enlargers to the flat-chested, and hair-growing machines to the bald.
Once you got a man seated, you got him at your mercy. And then before long, you'll have a great full head of hair.
Charles Murphy, ABC News, Minneapolis.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday, a white cop. Did you shoot him? A black victim.
I don't think so. We gotta prove that a second gun killed Ike. You're trying to make this case about race. It's a homicide.
And one man searches for the truth.
I think you saw who killed Ike Robinson.
Eddie Dodd, Tuesday.
News of the Northwest is next on Channel 2. There are more questions tonight concerning the reliability of Portland's 911 system.
Leaders in a neighborhood where a 5-year-old boy is killed by a gunshot make an appeal.